Elon Musk believed he was battling a lawsuit, but Karoline Leavitt revealed the reality. A corrupt judge, a manipulated trial, and a controversy that rattled the foundations of justice. It began like any ordinary day in the courtroom, where tailored suits occupied the benches, attorneys exchanged quiet murmurs, and a judge held a commanding presence that filled the space with gravitas. Yet, there was an unsettling feeling in the air. Elon Musk occupied the defendant's table, his fingers tapping rhythmically on the smooth surface of the wood. The case against him transcended the realm of mere lawsuits. It was a fierce corporate conflict masquerading as a legal skirmish. His adversaries, a formidable coalition of investors with extensive political connections, were charging him with engaging in deceptive business activities. It was utterly ridiculous. The claims were weak at best, yet Musk had experienced enough of life to understand that reason didn't always prevail in a court of law. He cast a quick look at his lead attorney, Russell Greer, a straightforward trial lawyer known for his ability to break down flimsy cases. Greer exuded confidence initially, but soon the first warning sign emerged. "Objection, Your Honor. The prosecution is presenting unfounded allegations lacking any substantiating proof." Judge Bernard Langford scarcely raised his gaze. "Denied. Dismissed?" Greer paused for a brief moment, a glimmer of uncertainty passing over his expression. The prosecution had just presented an argument devoid of any legal merit, yet the judge allowed it to pass as if it were a commonplace occurrence. Musk inclined closer. "Isn't that a bit of a reach?" he whispered softly. Greer remained silent. He found himself preoccupied with unraveling the events that had just unfolded. Then yet another strike. "Your Honor, we respectfully seek your approval to present essential documents that highlight the discrepancies in the plaintiff's assertions." Judge Langford let out a weary sigh, massaging his temple as if he were confronting a trivial annoyance. "Refused." Greer adjusted his tie, a quiet yet revealing action. Musk wasn't the sole observer of the trend. Every decision to date has been unfavorable to them. Each and every one. The prosecution's case, which ought to have been filled with flaws, unexpectedly appeared flawless. Not due to its strength, but because they had the freedom to express anything they wished. It felt as though the judge had reached a conclusion before the proceedings even began. Musk folded his arms, observing the judge's demeanor. Langford exhibited a calm demeanor, striking a balance that felt almost excessively impartial. He remained unresponsive, disengaged, and showed no semblance of interest in the concept of fairness. The subsequent hours only exacerbated the situation. Every time Greer attempted to resist, Langford swiftly silenced him. Each time the prosecution presented dubious evidence, it was embraced without hesitation. Witnesses who supported Musk were deemed unimportant, the type of decisions that went beyond mere misfortune. Their actions were intentional, and by the time midday recess arrived, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Musk and Greer occupied a secluded nook of the courthouse cafeteria, their meals untouched before them. "This goes beyond mere bias," Greer stated at last, his voice subdued. "This is information that Musk was already aware of. He had faced rivals who were ready to bend the rules in the past. But this was something grander. There was a strong desire for him to fail miserably. The issue was that he lacked evidence at the moment, yet another individual was already on the hunt for it." Karoline Leavitt approached her work with a discerning eye, never accepting things at face value. She crafted her professional journey by unveiling power dynamics, corporate deceit, and clandestine agreements that remained hidden from the headlines. There was an unsettling quality to Musk's situation. She had followed the trial from the start, engaging like everyone else, yet the more she absorbed, the more perplexing it became. Musk's legal team was impeccable. His legal team was meticulous, ensuring no detail went unnoticed. However, each time they attempted to advance, their efforts were swiftly thwarted before they could gather momentum. That was more than just poor legal representation. That was an obstruction. She immersed herself. Leavitt began with Judge Bernard Langford. On paper, his record appeared immaculate, almost suspiciously so. An esteemed federal judge known for a clean record, devoid of any controversies or past decisions suggesting partiality. He was the type of official that others believed was untouchable. However, based on her observations, pristine records often suggested that someone had meticulously polished them. She gathered financial records, campaign contributions, and any links to prominent corporate figures. Initially, there was nothing remarkable. Yet, she discovered it. A fund established for the benefit of a designated individual or group, often managed by a trustee. Hidden under a veil of complex legal language, one of Langford's family trusts had been the recipient of a number of anonymous deposits in the last 2 years. The funds arrived in unpredictable surges. Large sums of money, often in the hundreds of thousands, funneled through offshore accounts with no clear connection to any individual. That by itself wasn't incriminating. Affluent households navigated intricate financial landscapes. However, what about the timing? That was the issue at hand. A significant deposit arrived just weeks prior to Langford being assigned to Musk's case. Leavitt felt a knot form in his stomach. That was no mere coincidence. She broadened her investigation, following the trail of those who might benefit from Musk's decline. The lead attorney for the prosecution, Daniel Forsyth, possessed a fascinating link. He served as legal counsel for several energy companies, each of which had lobbied fiercely against Musk's initiatives in solar energy and electric vehicles. Everything was falling into place. There were those who sought to remove Musk from the scene, a figure of great influence. Yet, mere suspicions did not equate to evidence. She required something tangible. Emails, recorded conversations, everything that demanded attention. That's when she received a lead. A previous legal clerk, having spent 2 years in Langford's office, contacted us through an encrypted email. The communication was brief. "You found the perfect spot. Langford refrains from making significant decisions without seeking external validation. For the authentic narrative, examine his travel logs. In Mexico during the latter part of 2023. He wasn't there for leisure." Leavitt's fingers danced over the keyboard. She meticulously examined Langford's official travel logs, verifying them against private jet charters sourced from corporate accounts. And there it stood. In late 2020, I embarked on a 3-day journey to Cancun. During the same weekend, prominent leaders from Tesla's major rivals gathered for an exclusive business retreat. Langford was more than just a presence. He had been brought in by air, at their expense. Her heartbeat throbbed. This was the moment. Langford exhibited a clear partiality. He was acquired. However, revealing it would necessitate more than mere paperwork. It had to make its presence known in a manner that demanded attention. Leavitt was efficient with his time. Everything was in place. Financial trails, discreet deposits, clandestine meetings with executives poised to benefit from Musk's misfortune. Yet in the current landscape, mere evidence fell short. It needed to strike with intensity. It had to be irrefutable. She contacted a reliable expert in cybersecurity, Ethan Vaughn, who had transitioned from a DOJ analyst to a whistleblower. He was the one who could uncover the elusive connection. "I require access to all encrypted communications associated with Langford. If he's covering his tracks, he's not doing it alone," she remarked during a discreet call. Ethan paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "This is more than just an unfavorable decision, Karoline. If Langford is entangled in something more profound, you're venturing into perilous ground." She let out a quick breath. "I have no interest in that. Simply let me know if you can obtain something." A moment of silence, followed by, "Please allow me 24 hours. She hardly reached a dozen. The trial was progressing rapidly, and if Musk's team didn't produce something soon, he was facing serious consequences. The following morning, her phone illuminated the room. "Ethan Vaughn, please take a moment to check your email. It's more dire than you realize." Leavitt accessed the document. Within the contents was a collection of confidential emails exchanged between Judge Langford and a corporate lobbyist known as Philip Grayson, who had direct connections to the prosecution's lead attorney, Daniel Forsyth. The emails were clear and precise. They were straightforward. A single message captured attention. "The arrangement is straightforward. Make certain the decisions benefit Forsyth's clients. and retirement will be the least of your concerns. The fund will manage its own affairs. Ensure that Musk's team doesn't secure any victories in that courtroom. Let it be a gut-wrenching experience. It was corruption, straightforward and undeniable. And what could be more troubling? Langford replied, "Got it. As long as everything remains unrecorded, we won't encounter any problems." This was more than merely an incompetent judge. This individual was compensated as a judge. She acted swiftly. In just 3 hours, Leavitt appeared on national television. "This isn't merely a matter of courtroom bias," she stated, her voice cutting through the air with a sense of urgency. "This represents the pinnacle of corruption. Evidence has emerged indicating that Judge Bernard Langford received financial incentives to influence the case against Elon Musk. And here lies the most unfortunate aspect. He executed it in collaboration with the legal team of the prosecution. She provided images of the email correspondence. She shared passages aloud. She detailed the offshore payments, the Mexico retreat, and the corporate connections. It was a burst of energy. The online platforms exploded with activity. In just a few moments, Judge Langford's controversy became the talk of the town. An investigation was called for by the people. Lawmakers expressed their opinions. Even those who weren't supporters of Musk couldn't overlook it. However, within the confines of the courtroom, Musk's legal team remained uninformed. Unbeknownst to them, the bomb had just fallen, and soon enough, the truth would unravel before their eyes. And when they finally did, everything transformed. The atmosphere in the courtroom was thick with tension. Judge Langford perched in his high-backed chair, exuding an air of calm authority. Yet Musk observed the finer details. The manner in which his fingers clutched the gavel, perhaps a touch too firmly. His throat cleared before he spoke, as if he were hesitating. There was an unsettling feeling in the air. Russell Greer, representing Musk, seemed disengaged from the proceedings, not focusing on the judge's remarks. He was absorbed in his phone, his gaze darting across the screen as though it were a dangerous tool in his hands. He then shifted his gaze to Musk, speaking in a hushed tone. "Did you catch the latest headlines?" Musk scowled. "We are expressing our viewpoint." Greer pushed his phone across the table with a deliberate motion. Musk's gaze swept across the headline. Urgent news. Judge Bernard Langford embroiled in bribery controversy. Correspondence. Offshore payments revealed. For the first time since the trial began, Musk emitted a soft chuckle. Langford was completely unaware. "Your Honor," Greer declared, rising suddenly. "Before we move forward, I would like to present some urgent new evidence for the record." Langford hardly raised his gaze. "Refused." Greer remained unperturbed. "The information pertains to your financial connections with those supporting the prosecution. Are you rejecting a request to present evidence that implicates you?" A wave of tension swept across the courtroom. The lead attorney for the prosecution, Forsyth, adjusted his position in his chair. His face turned suddenly pale. Langford's expression grew steely. "I'm not quite sure I understand your point." Greer beamed, a smile that conveyed the unmistakable feeling of triumph. "In that case, you won't object to us sharing a few of your emails aloud." The courtroom burst into chaos. The judge brought down his gavel with authority. "Stillness. I will not accept this." Greer continued to speak. "There exists communication between you and Philip Grayson, addressing a joint initiative aimed at hindering Elon Musk's legal defense at every opportunity. Evidence of offshore payments is available. A weekend getaway where you were flown out to engage with corporate leaders. Leaders poised to benefit from Musk's decline." Langford's hand quivered slightly as he repositioned his glasses. "This is absurd," he said, his voice now barely above a whisper. Greer had more to say. He delved into his briefcase, retrieved the printed copies of the leaked emails, and presented them to the court clerk. "We'll allow the evidence to determine what is truly absurd." The room was engulfed in whispers. Musk reclined in his chair, observing as the judge's impassive exterior began to fracture. Suddenly, the doors at the back of the courtroom swung wide open. A woman in a navy blazer entered with a commanding presence. A hush enveloped the room. A federal investigator was present. The judge regarded her as if she were an apparition materializing before him. "Judge Langford," she stated, her tone steady. "It is imperative that we have a conversation with you at once." Langford's mouth parted, then closed. For the first time since the trial began, he found himself devoid of options. Yet, the repercussions were only starting to unfold. The atmosphere in the courtroom was thick with anticipation. Judge Bernard Langford remained motionless, his grip on the gavel growing firmer. Yet, for the first time since the trial commenced, he appeared adrift. His jaw tightened, his complexion fading to a pallid hue. He was confronting more than just an awkward situation. He gazed at the swift, chaotic disintegration of all he had created. The federal investigator remained steadfast in her position, her voice unwavering and calm. She was not obligated to. The gravity of her words had already sucked the breath from the atmosphere. "Judge Langford," she reiterated, her tone steady yet unyielding. "Leave the bench. At this time, you find yourself facing a federal investigation concerning allegations of judicial misconduct, bribery, and obstruction of justice." A flurry of hushed murmurs erupted in the gallery. The rustle of papers, the subtle movements of individuals in their chairs, the quiet exchanges between attorneys leaning in, whispering softly. This was an unprecedented event, unfolding before our very eyes. Langford took a deep breath, yet it came out uneven. He straightened his back and summoned a scowl. "This is quite unusual," he remarked, his voice barely above a whisper yet tinged with urgency. "I am still overseeing a case." The investigator inclined her head just a fraction, her expression one of indifference. "That's no longer the case." Stillness. Langford was aware of it. Forsyth was aware of it. All eyes in that courtroom were aware of it. The end had come. Musk reclined, crossing his arms with a contemplative air. He didn't smile. That wasn't his nature. Yet, the satisfaction in his eyes was unmistakable. The game unfolded, and the faction that believed it held dominion over the board found itself unexpectedly checkmated. Forsyth, the lead attorney for the prosecution, abruptly sprang to his feet. "Your Honor, this is utterly unacceptable. One might find it difficult to accept." The investigator shifted her focus to him, deftly opening a small notepad. "Mr. Forsyth, your name has surfaced in relation to this case as well." His lips pressed together tightly. "Next, she mentioned, we'll be having a conversation with you." The hue vanished from Forsyth's complexion. Langford remained utterly still. His fingers lingered just above the gavel, yet he refrained from making contact. He was unable to. The legal ramifications were one aspect, yet the scrutiny from the public? That was the end of the line for the career. A tale of this nature would inevitably spill beyond the confines of legal realms. It would make headlines in every news outlet nationwide. He cast a quick look at the gallery, at the lines of onlookers. Observers, commentators, and members of the public gathered to witness a straightforward corporate conflict develop. Several individuals held their phones aloft, capturing the moment. This had transcended into a public affair. It unfolded in real time. Langford glanced at the court bailiff, a silent plea for an escape route in his eyes, but the bailiff remained motionless. He had no intention of stepping into this situation. No one was present. The investigator approached the bench, carefully setting a small folder down before him. "By opting to resist, you're only complicating matters for yourself. The inquiry is currently in progress. This will occur regardless of your willingness to participate." Langford tightened his jaw. His hands quivered momentarily before he swiftly pulled them back. Then a shift occurred. The struggle faded from his gaze.